Hey y'all, it's Tyler, and today I want to talk about the newly rebranded David Gilliland Racing that will now be known as Tricon Garage. And this will be the new Toyota flagship team in the truck series. Essentially, all the support from Toyota Kyle Busch Motorsports has received since its inception will now jump to Tricon. But I wanted to talk about a specific driver for Tricon. Bob Pockrass announced that Corey Heim, Tanner Gray, and his little brother Taylor Gray will be full-time for the team next year. Corey Heim and Taylor Gray are pretty much high-priority prospects for Toyota at this point. They're both uber-talented and probably going to do well next year. It's the veteran of this crew that I wanted to discuss in Tanner that I think up to this point has had a disappointing career, and maybe he's looking for this rebrand to be the up for him. Before I get into it, if y'all will please take the time to like the video and subscribe to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. And also, please go and follow me on Twitter and TikTok. I make daily content over there that you won't find on YouTube. But back to the main topic, Tanner Gray was a shock to me whenever I first saw him. I had heard of him in the NHRA world, and when I saw him pop up in a stock car, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I've never really seen anyone try to make that kind of a transition, and I was really curious to see what he can do. And while starting off strong in the K&N series, as he rose up the ranks into the truck series, his talent never really seemed to rise with him. In now 3 full-time seasons driving for DGR in the trucks, he's only been able to amass 7 top 5s and 15 top 10s in 70 starts. If he was driving for Nice Motorsports, I'd say that looks solid, but DGR equipment has never been bad. It's not top tier, but we've seen guys like Ryan Preece make it look top tier. And I mean, to be fair, Tanner has outperformed his teammate the last 2 seasons in Haley Diggin, who is also making the transition to stock cars. But I think at this point, outperforming her is kind of up in the air on whether that's something to brag about. I talked about Haley earlier this week and how she seems to maybe be proving that the truck series isn't a spot for developing drivers. And maybe the same could be said about Tanner. Maybe that's what his situation is. At the same time, though, Tanner has been carried through his career by David Gilliland, always finding himself in solid equipment at every level, but has never found consistent success. He got a win and finished 3rd in the 2019 K&N East Series standings, finishing behind Sam Mayer, which is nothing to be ashamed of, but also Chase Caber. And Chase Caber had better stats and isn't racing anymore, which probably has more to do with money than his actual talent, but still, getting beat by a guy that's not even racing anymore isn't a good look in my opinion. But even more troubling than that is his teammate that season in the K&N series was the infamous Drew Dollar. If you haven't heard of the legend of Drew Dollar now, pretty much he is the face for all money and no talent in NASCAR right now. He only, in that season, Drew Dollar in the K&N 2019 series, he only raced 8 races of the 12 events. Tanner raced all 12. But Drew Dollar finished with 7 top 10s to Gray's 9 top 10s and had an average finish of 7.1 to Tanner's 6.4, which obviously Tanner had a better average finish, but I genuinely think a guy who has a couple of aspirations would blow Drew Dollar's doors off. You know, I feel like Drew Dollar's really just gotten his his ego deflated here lately, but I really can't stress how Drew Dollar is just not meant to be driving race cars. But honestly, that season, Tanner Gray's stats and Drew Dollar's stats were a lot closer than I'm personally comfortable with. And while, I mean, this wouldn't concern me if Tanner went on to have more success in the higher ranks, but to this point, that 2019 season was really his best work. And while I know I'm being kind of negative, I also want to stress the positive as well and, you know, give the kid a break. We have to remember, this is a dude that just started racing stock cars 4 years ago. There is a steep learning curve coming from any discipline of motorsports, but especially when you're talking about one that really only relies on the driver's reflexes and steady hand. I mean, jumping from drag racing into NASCAR, I mean, that's a tall feat. Tanner has had to learn an entire art form, a craft, or whatever you want to call it, of racing these cars, just racing any cars. This is something that takes guys coming from IndyCar, F1, and all other major forms of racing years, even decades, to figure out. And while it's great, he's starting out young, it's still a really steep learning curve. I also think that just like with Haley, learning stock car racing in the truck series is not the best development path. I actually still think, he has a shot to right the ship, and I think that this rebrand from Tricon will be really good for the company and him and the drivers overall. I think he might get his hands on some of the best equipment money can buy. Now, I expect Tanner to be the weakest link of these three drivers, but I do think we're going to see improvement this season, and hopefully it's enough to warrant David Gilliland's continued support. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Tanner Gray is just a failed experiment coming from NHRA? Or do you think there's a lot of untapped potential here like I do? It just maybe isn't going to be like cup level potential, but I think there's definitely the potential to have a career in NASCAR here. But tell me what you guys think in the comments. And also, before I sign off, just wanted to let you guys know I'm going to be in Martinsville this weekend for the race. My family goes up every year for both races, and if you happen to see me, please stop by, say hi, I'd love to chat. But also just wanted to let y'all know, probably TikTok content's going to be little to none this week, but we'll see if I've got time, if I can, while we're camping. But anyway, guys, have a great day, have a great race weekend, and I hope to see y'all there at Martinsville.